Hello everyone, welcome to Python Application Programming Lecture Series. In this lecture video, we are going to discuss about why should you learn to write the program, creativity and motivations for Python, computer hardware architecture, words and sentences in Python, conversing with Pythons, terminologies like interpreter and compiler, what exactly program is, the building blocks of programs, and what could possibly go wrong in Python? Now we will see why should we learn to write the program. The writing program is a very creative and rewarding activity. You can write the program for many reasons. Computer want to be a helpful. The computer are built for one purpose, to do something for us. But we need to speak their language to describe what we want to done. Users have easy. Someone already put many different program or instruction into a computer and users just pick up the one we want to use. The hardware is our current day. The computer is essentially built to continuously ask us the questions, what would you like me to do next? And this is one of the reason to write the program. Programs are generally written to solve the real-time arithmetic or logical problems. Nowadays, computational devices like personal computer, laptop, and cell phones are embedded with the operating system, memory, and processing unit. Using such devices, one can write a program in the language which a computer can understand of one's choice to solve the various types of problems. Humans are tend get bored by doing computational tasks in multiple times. Hence, the computer can act as a personal assistant for people for doing their jobs. To make a computer to solve the required problem, one has to feed the proper program to it. Hence, one should know how to write a program. There are many programming languages that suit several situations. The programmer must be able to choose the suitable programming language for solving the required problem based on the factor like computational ability of the device, data structure that are supported in the language, complexity involved in implementing the algorithm in the languages. Now we will look into creativity and motivations for programming language. When a person starts programming, the programmer himself will be both the programmer and end user because programmer will be a learning to solve the problems. But later, he or she may become a proficient programmer. A programmer should have a logical thinking ability to solve a given problem. He or she should be a creative in analyzing the given problems, finding the possible solutions, and optimizing the resource available and delivering the best possible result to the end users. Motivation behind the programming may be a job requirement and such other prospects, but the programmer should follow a certain ethics in delivering the best possible output to his or her clients. The responsibility of a programmer includes developing a feasible, user-friendly software with very less or no hassles. The user is expected to have only a abstract knowledge about the working of software, but not the implementation in detail. Hence, the programmer should strive hard towards developing most effective software. To understand the art of programming, it is better to know the basic architecture of computer hardware. The computer system involves some important parts as shown in below figure. So this is the computer architecture, hardware architecture. It consists of input and output devices, central processing unit, main memory, secondary memory, and network. The central processing unit or CPU is a part of the computer hardware. The CPU is the part of the computer that is built to be observed with what is next. If your computer is rated at 3.0 GHz, it means that the CPU will ask what next in 3 billion times per second. You are going to have to learn how to talk fast to keep up with the CPU. The main memory is used to store the information that the CPU needs in the hurry. The main memory is nearly as fast as the CPU, but the information stored in the main memory vanishes when the computer is turned off. The secondary memory is also used to store the information, but it is much slower than the main memory. The advantages of the secondary memory is that it can store the information even when there is no power to the computer. Examples of secondary memories are disk drives or flash memory, typically found in USB sticks and portable music players. The input and output devices are simply our screen, keyboard, mouse, microphone, speaker, touch screen, etc. They are all of the way we can interact with the computer. These days, most computers also have a network connection to retrieve the information over a network. So we can think of a network as very slow place to store and retrieve the data that might not always be up. The network is a slower and times unreliable form of secondary memory. Now we will see words and sentences in Python. The reserved words in the language where human talks to Python include the followings. So these are some keywords or reserved words in Python: and, delete, for, is, rise, assert, else if, from, lambda, return, break, else, global, not, try, class, accept, if, are, while, continue, execution, import, pass, yield, definition, finally, in, print, as, with. So these are some keyword or reserved words in Python. We can't use these reserved words as a variable name or identifier. In Python, sentences start with the function print. Print is the keyword, is followed by a string of the text of our choosing enclosed in a single quotes. Example for the sentences in Python: for example, we have to print hello world. So here first we have to declare the keyword is print. So within a bracket we have to write hello world. So hello world is within a single quote or double quote. So this is the sentence formation. So here in Python is print the hello world. So if you want to write sentences or if you want to print any strings in the Python, so this is the format. First we have to declare the print. Within a brace we have to write the strings. So here string is hello world. So we have to write the strings within quotes, single quotes or double quotes. Now we will see conversing with the Python. The prompts, and this is the prompts in the Python interpreter. The way of asking you what do you want me to do next, and this symbol is indicate the what do you want me to do next. For example, print hello world, and this is the sentence formation. So if you want to print, first we have to declare first we want to write the print. So within the parenthesis we have to write the string should be in single quote or double quote. So Python interpreter is print the hello world. Next example is print you must be a legendary god that comes from the sky. So Python interpreter is print you must be the legendary god that comes from the sky. So here from is highlighted with a different color. The from is the keyword in Python. Python interpreter is identify the keyword. So from is the keyword. Next we have to print we have been waiting for you for a long time. So Python interpreter is print the we have been waiting for you for a long time. So for and long is highlighted with the different color. The for is the keyword and long is the integer type. Next, we have to print our legend says you will be a very tasty with mustard. So our Python interpreter is prints our legends says you will be a very tasty with mustard. So here with is highlighted with the different color. With is the keyword. And next conversation is print we will have a feast tonight unless you say. So Python interpreter it gives the syntax error. So here in this sentence missing a parenthesis in call to print. So here parentheses are missing. So if you want to communicate with the Python, we have to follow some grammars. Python is amazingly complex and powerful and very picky about the syntax you use to communicate with it. Python is not intelligent. You are really just having a conversation with yourself but using a proper syntax and proper grammar. The proper way to quit the Python is quit parenthesis. The proper way to say goodbye to the Python is to enter quit parenthesis at an interactive chevron prompt. Now we will see Python interpreter and compiler. The CPU is understand the language we called as a machine language. The machine language is very simple and frankly is very tiresome to write because it representation all in zeros and ones. The machine language is in the form of binary values. The binary values are zeros and ones. Machine language seems quite simple on the surface, given that there are only zeros and ones, but its syntax is even more complex and far more intricate than Python. Instead, we build various translators to allow programmers to write high-level language like Python or JavaScript, and these translators convert, convert the program to machine language for actual execution by the CPU. Since the machine is tied to the computer hardware, the machine language is not portable across different types of hardware. Programs written in high-level languages can be moved between different computers by using a different interpreter on the new machine or recompiling the code to create a machine language versions of the program for a new machine. These programming languages or translators fall into two general categories. The first category is interpreter and second one is compiler. An interpreter is read the source code of the program as written by the programmer, parses and the source code, and the interpreter the instruction on the fly. Python is an interpreter, and when we running the Python interactively, we can type a line of Python, a sentence, and Python processes it immediately and is ready for us to type another line for Python. Some of the lines of Python tells Python that you want it to remember some values for later. We need to pick a name for that values to be remembered, and we can use that symbolic name to retrieve the values later. For example, here x is equal to 6. The 6 is stored in variable. The variable name is x. Then print x value. So in this particular example, 6 is assigned to x value. After that, we are printing x value. So x is equal to 6. So 6 value is stored in x. The x is the variable name. Then so y is equal to x into 7. So this is the variable. The variable name is the variable is x. The x value assigned value is 6. 6 is the x value. So here we multiplying x with 7. So we know that x is equal to 6. So 6 into 7 we get 42. Then we write we return print y. So y value is equal to 6 into 7. So we get 42. In this example, we ask Python to remember the value 6. So this is the 6 and use the label x so we can retrieve the values later. So here we retrieve the x value. We verified that Python has actually remembered the values using print. Then we asked Python to retrieve x and multiply it by 7 and put the newly computed values in y, and this is the y value. So finally we get 42. Then we ask Python to print out the values currently in y. Even though we are typing these commands into a Python one line at a time, Python is treating them as an ordered sequence of statements. With later statements, it's able to retrieve the data created in earlier statements. The Python interpreter is written in high-level language is called C. Compiler needs to be added the entire program in a file, and then it runs a process to translate the high-level source code into machine language, and then the compiler puts the resulting machine language into a file for later execution. How to write the Python program? As we know, Python is interpreted language. One can keep typing every line of code and one after the other and immediately getting the output of each line. But in real-time scenario, typing a big program is not a good idea. It is not easy to logically debug such lines. So, hence, Python programs can be stored in a file with extension .py. So this is the extension and then can be run using a Python command. Programs written within a file are obviously reusable and can be run whenever we want. Also, they are transferable from one machine to other machine via pen drive, CD, etc. So saving extension is .py. What exactly program is? A program is a sequence of instruction intended to do some task. For example, if we need to count the number of occurrence of each word in the text document, we can write a program to do so. Writing a program will make the task easier compared to manual counting the word in a document. Moreover, most of the times the program is a generic solution, hence the same program may be used to count the frequency of the word in another file. The person who does not know anything about the programming also can run this program to count the word. Programming language like Python will act as an intermediary between the computer and the programmer. The end user can request the programmer to write a program to solve one's problem. Now we will look into building blocks of programming. There are certain low-level conceptual structure to construct a program in any programming language. They are called as building blocks of a program, and these building blocks are listed below. The first building block is input. Every program may take some input from outside. The input may be through keyboard, mouse, disk file, etc. or even though some sensors like microphone, GPS, etc. The second building block is output. The purpose of program itself is to find the solution to a problem. Hence, every program must generate at least one output. Output may be displayed on a monitor or can be stored in a file. Output of a program may even be a music or voice messages. The next building block is sequential execution. In general, the instructions in a program are sequentially executed from the top. The next building block is conditional execution. In some situation, a set of instructions have to be executed based on the true value of the variable or expression. Then, conditional constructs like if have to be used. If the condition is true, one set of instruction will be executed, and if the condition is false, the true block is skipped or other set of instructions is executed. So next building block is repeated execution. Some of the problems required a set of instruction to be repeated or multiple times. Such statements can be written with the help of looping structure like for, while, etc. Reuse. So when we write the program for general purpose utility tasks, it is better to write them with a separate name so that they can be used multiple times whenever, wherever is required. This is possible with the help of a function. The art of the programming involves through understanding of above the constructs and using them legibly. What could possibly go wrong in Python coding? As we saw in our earlier conversation with Python, we must communicate very preciously when we write the Python code. The smallest deviation or mistake will cause the Python to give up looking at your program. We need to learn Python language so we can communicate our instruction to the Python. When you make a mistake, the computer does not think you are cute. It says syntax error. You must remember that you are intelligent and can learn, but the computer is simple and very fast but can't learn. So it is easier for you to learn Python than for the computer to learn English. So let's consider one specific example. So here we have to print hello world. So this is the instruction, print hello world. The Python interpreter, it gives the syntax error. The syntax error is invalid syntax. The proper way to print the hello world is print within the parenthesis. We have to write the hello world. So print is the keyword. Here open the bracket and here close this. So this is the proper way to print the hello world. Let's consider one more example. So this is the instruction, print hello world. So Python interpreter will give the error. The error is the name error is print. So here the print is the keyword. Instead of n, we typed m here. The proper way to print hello world is print hello world. So here instead of m, we have to type n here. So print within a parenthesis, we have to write the hello world. So this is the proper way to print the hello world. Let's consider one more example. So here our intention is to print IIQ Python. So but Python interpreter will gives you the syntax error or invalid syntax. The proper way to print the IIQ Python is here print then you open the bracket. Within the parenthesis, you have to write the IIQ Python, and IIQ Python should be in quotes here. So this is the proper way to print the strings. It is obvious that one can do mistake while writing the program. The possible mistakes are categorized as below. The first possible mistake is syntax error. The statement which are not following the grammar or syntax of the programming language are tend to result in the syntax error. Python is a case sensitive language, hence there is a chance that a beginner may do some syntactical mistakes while writing a program. The lines involving such mistakes are encountered by a Python when you run the program, and the error are thrown by thus specifying possible reasons for the error. The programmer has to correct them and then proceed further. The second Second mistakes are logical errors. Second errors are logical errors. The logical errors occurs due to poor understanding of the problem. Syntactically, the program will be correct, but it may not give the exact output. For example, you are intended to find A divided by B, but by mistake you have typed A slash B, then it is a logical error. The next possible error is semantic error. A semantic error may happen due to wrong use of variables, wrong operators, or wrong in wrong order. For example, trying to modify uninitialized variable and etc. Note that there is a one more type of error is run error, usually called as a exceptions. It may occur due to a wrong input, like typing a divide a number by zeros. Problem in database connectivity and etc. When a runtime error occurs, the programmer throws some errors which may not understood by the normal users, and he or she may not understand how to overcome such errors. Hence, suspicious lines of the code have to be treated by the programmer himself by the procedure known as a exception handling. The Python provides a mechanism for handling various possible exceptions like arithmetic error, floating point error, EOF errors, memory error, etc. These are some possible errors. Thank you.